Hi everyone, Ryan here from Fight Game Analysis, and today we are going to be talking about the upcoming fight between Robert Whittaker and Marvin Vettori. But before we jump into that, if you've been enjoying the content, please go ahead and click on the like button and also subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate your support. Alright, so it was just recently announced that we are going to be seeing a fight coming up between Robert Whittaker and Marvin Vettori, UFC 275, June 11th. I mean, look, when you really think about it, when you really break it down, isn't this a fight that was to be expected? Isn't this something that just makes perfect sense? Both of these men have been around the top of the division for a while. One is a former title challenger in Marvin Vettori. He just recently fought Adesanya and lost. The other one is the former title holder in Robert Whittaker, the man who lost the belt to the current champ, Israel Adesanya. So both men have been at the very top for a while now, some years. Both men have challenged the current champion twice and come up short. So it's just they've both been fighting other common opponents. It was just a matter of time before we got here. Personally, I'm really excited for it. The only critique I have is that it looks like this is going to be a 3-round fight. Right? We only get 5 rounds out of main events and championship bouts. So by this being on the UFC 275 card, it's not going to be the main event. That one looks like it's going to be a championship fight with Glover Teixeira. We're also going to have a championship bout on there with Valentina Shevchenko. So this is probably going to be, like the second or third fight on the main card. So it's only going to be a 3-round affair. But both of these men are championship level fighters. So a big part of me would like to see how it played out over 5 rounds. But, it is what it is. Hopefully that just translates to us getting a more action-packed 3 rounds because these guys don't feel like they got to pace themselves. So, my first thought when seeing it, above and beyond just being excited for it and understanding that it makes perfect sense, really, really looking forward to it from that perspective, was I started to think about each man's style. Started to think a little bit about how they were going to match up. And the first thing that always comes to my mind, the absolute key to Robert Whittaker's style, is his ability to control the gap. His ability to control the gap between him and his opponent, right? He controls that distance, and it's what allows him to do everything else. Everything builds off that. He's on the outside. He's bouncing around on his feet. When he wants to, he explodes and he closes that distance. It might just be with a jab. Might just be with a right hand. He can use his patented combination to throw on the right, a 1-2 and then a high kick, or just a 2 and a high kick. He loves following up that right hand with that high kick, man. He does such great work with it. He goes in and that first punch or those first 2 punches allow him to really gauge the distance. He explodes, blinds his opponent a little bit in the sense that they have to deal defensively. They have to deal with those punches or they're getting caught with them. And then he just follows it up with that high kick. And those punches just put him in the perfect position that he needs to be to land that kick. So it all works together beautifully, right? And then he's able to get out of there. He's on the outside, bouncing around on his feet, very mobile, very fast for the division. He explodes, closes that distance, lands the shots that he wants to, and then he gets back out. A lot of times he'll get back out on an angle, and then he gets right back into that spot. And his ability to control that distance is everything. When guys want to attack him, they have to go. He's not just in range. They have to close the distance. He's a step and a half away, so they have to close that distance and then attack. He's defensively responsible. He's very aware, high fight IQ. When guys try to close the distance on him, he's able to do what he wants to do. We saw when people try to pressure him, a guy like Derek Brunson tries to pressure him, eventually ends up getting caught with that counter left hook. We see when guys like Darren Till try to pressure him. He has an answer for that. These guys who are bigger, who have potentially longer reach, he's able to handle that because he controls the distance so well. His footwork is so good, right? It's the key to everything he does. And then above and beyond that, he's got, really good cardio and the takedown defense, fast hands, uses combinations well, right? He's got a lot of other qualities. But that's the one that sets him apart. Now we look at Marvin Vettori. He's a guy who does everything well. Or maybe everything even really good. And the thing that I like is he's continually getting better. He's training over there at King's MMA. He's got Rafael Cordero as his head coach, so he got a world-class trainer. You've got world-class training and sparring partners, guys like, Calvin Gastelum and things like that. So he's over there, he's putting in the work, and you can see that what started out as his weak point, what started out as an actual liability, his striking, continually getting better. Always been strong for the division, always been able to grapple well, but his striking is getting better and better. His hands are looking crisp. He comes out, he throws good combinations. He knows how to use that left hand in multiple ways, whether he's countering with it, whether he's leading with it, whether he's throwing it as part of a 1-2. He comes forward and applies pressure. Not reckless pressure, but he's always there. He's always applying pressure. He's going to come in. He's going to want to throw hard shots. Mixes in some leg kicks well. Doesn't use the kicks all that often. And he still uses his grappling. Personally, I think he should use it a little bit more. I think he's trying to work to the clinch a little bit more, maybe get some dirty boxing in, land some strikes from there, get takedowns. We saw against Roberson, we saw against Hermanson, we saw against Kevin Holland. When he wins, even Paulo Costa in his last fight, when he wins, he's mixing in the takedowns well. He knows how to use them with the striking all together as a part of anything. If he just went to go in there and try to use straight grappling match, he's not necessarily going to succeed at the highest level. He goes in there and tries to make it a kickboxing match, not necessarily going to succeed at the highest level. But he's very good at everything. So when he mixes it up well, everything in his game complements each other. It all goes together. Now, if you can't control the distance on Robert Whittaker, if you can't take that ability away from him, it's really hard to beat him. You think about the only 2 times that he has lost recently, Israel Adesanya. And that's because Adesanya was able to take away what Whittaker does. Whittaker controls the distance really well. He wants to explode. He wants to make you come forward so that he can counter. Adesanya took all that away because he actually controls the distance better. He's got better fakes. He's got better feints. He's got better footwork. He knows how to pressure you without throwing shots, to put you in an uncomfortable spot to make you come forward and throw your rhythm and timing off. And then he's a master counterpuncher with the way that he's able to do stuff. So he was able to take away what Robert Whittaker does the best. What makes Whittaker special, he was able to take that away. I don't think Vettori can do that. I don't think Vettori is going to be able to control that gap on Whittaker, take that ability away. Part of that is the fact that he fights in straight lines. Vettori applies pressure, but he's always applying pressure and he's always coming forward. Yeah, he'll cut off the octagon well and everything. He's not necessarily going to follow you around. You'll be able to set some traps for him and land a few things. Robert Whittaker is a very good counterpuncher. I imagine him setting some traps and leading Vettori into some stuff. But Vettori will be able to cut off the octagon well. But the thing is, when he goes there, when he gets into range, when he gets into distance, it's going to be one of 2 things. He's either going to try to stand right on the outside and allow Whittaker to get off his outside shots and explode and try and counter, at which point I give Whittaker an advantage. Because I think he'll be able to explode and land the shots that he wants and be deceptive with what he uses out of his arsenal more than Vettori is going to be able to counterpunch and set those traps. If he doesn't decide to let Whittaker go first, if he wants to apply pressure and go forward, I think Whittaker, he moves in straight lines too much. I think Robert Whittaker's going to be able to see that coming. He'll be able to figure it out and time him. I think it's going to be a tough go for Vettori trying to take that away from Whittaker. I think in my opinion, for him to win, he was going to have to lean heavily on the grappling. He's going to have to really try to close that gap and really just try to be in Whittaker's chest, fight him from there, get him down, try and maintain top control. I know easier said than done. Robert Whittaker's got some really good takedown defense, but if he can get there, it's only 3 rounds. If he can at least get one up, possibly the first round, getting down, puts Whittaker in a difficult position as far as him having to win the next 2 rounds. It's an interesting fight on what each man's going to do, but off the top of my head, man, I gotta lean towards Robert Whittaker, right? Because Vettori hasn't shown that he chooses to use like a grappling heavy style and go in there and really try to enforce his will from that standpoint. If he goes in there and the longer it stays striking, the more I see Whittaker having that advantage, man. The way he controls the distance, his footwork, the way he can work behind that jab. Look, Marvin Vettori likes to block a lot of shots. Look at the way Paulo Costa was just ramming those kicks in there, whether it was going to the body or trying to go with the head with him. He caught Vettori with at least one of them. Dude's got an iron chin, didn't drop, whatever, but he blocked the rest of them. He doesn't get out of the way all that well. He doesn't have the footwork. He doesn't have the upper body movement that wears on you. That means you're right there. You're in front of a guy. You're there to be hit. You can't expect to block them all. So, off the top of my head, the fight's a little bit out. I'm going to examine the film. I want to see the training camps and what's going on as we come forward before I make some type of an actual prediction. But man, Robert Whittaker's so good, man. But also, it speaks to how good Israel Adesanya was, and he was able to beat him twice. So, let me know what you guys think. Do you think Vettori's going to have a little trick in the bag? Is he getting even better? Is Robert Whittaker slowing down? How do you guys think this one's going to play out? Let me know.